Hi, my name is Jen Hitchcock, and this is the Queer Spaces podcast. It's a safe bet that if you are a queer person, you have a story about a queer space that inspired and shaped you, where you found family, where you felt safe, seen, understood, loved, often for the first time in your life. I want to hear those stories. This is a storytelling podcast created to create those unique personal stories about our queer communal gathering spots, be they historical or contemporary, in real life or virtual. Queer Spaces storytelling started as a live show in Los Angeles. I recently moved back to the East Coast after living in LA for 35 years. It's strange to be back here as a queer person because when I left, I was straight. But I became my true self in California. Most of my queer space stories take place there, but I do have one brief queer space story from growing up here when I was in high school. I grew up in Guilford, Connecticut. When my friends and I wanted a party, we would drive into New Haven and try to buy alcohol. One of the times we were driving by this building, my memory's kind of hazy, but how I see it now is like, I envision it as a big brick building, no windows, like a tiny door at the corner with a small sign above it. And as we drove by, my friend said, "That's a lesbian bar." I said, "Ew, gross." And I quickly noted the address and committed it to memory. From that moment on, I would find endless opportunities to drive by. I'd go by after my shift at Stop and Shop or after a night out. I'd drive by that building, always hoping as I rolled slowly by, the door would be open and I could see what was inside. What did the place look like? What are the lesbians doing in there? What do they look like? Why do I care? I'm not a lesbian. Well, turns out I was. I think there is an important thing to note here. It is incredibly hard growing up in a place where queer people are, for the most part, invisible. Visiting Guilford just the other day, for the first time in decades, I saw a bunch of rainbow flags that when I left in 1990, they weren't there. There was no dedicated gathering places. There were no visible allies, no queerness incorporated into the geography of where I lived. I had no models. And these things, they're really important. I mean, how do you identify the feelings you're having? What do you connect them to? So today, I have two very, very special guests who are visiting me here on the East Coast from Los Angeles, both with two very different experiences of queer space. My daughter, Eleanor, and her girlfriend, Angela. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
How you doing today?
Good.
Good.
How you enjoying the East Coast so far?
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous. Well, welcome to Queer Spaces. So, Ellie, why don't we start with you? Why don't you tell us your queer space experience?
Okay, so since I grew up with two moms, obviously, pretty much everywhere I was a queer space. My house, hanging around their friends. The people make any space that they walk into a queer space for me. But it's different because I can't relate to these people. There's a big age difference and life experience gap between them and me. So I obviously appreciated being a part of those spaces, but it never really felt like my own queer space. I feel like the first time I had my own queer space was when I went to college, and I go to UC Santa Cruz, which is there's a lot of queer people who choose that school. So already I was excited because it's one of the first times I'm going to be around a lot of other queer people my age and maybe have had similar experiences to me or similar stories as me. Yeah, I feel like the first space that really felt like my own queer space was after I was in college. I started DJing and hosting parties and hosting raves, and the crowds that would come out for that was kind of the first time that I got to see queer people and queer couples that are my age and are just being open and affectionate in public, even though it's different because it's dark, it's nighttime, but it's still like it's a very public place to be so open, I don't know, and so like authentic and affectionate with somebody else. And I had never really seen that. That was really exciting for me to get to like witness.
So when you walked in, I want you to kind of walk us through your feelings as you walked into this space, because like I'm thinking, because we're your parents and it just, you know, we weren't like walking around our house like, hey, Eleanor, well, you know, you were born into a queer space. You were born into a queer space. It just was, right?
Yeah, that's just how it was always. I was never like comparing it to anything else. Like that's just how I grew up. That's what my family was like.
So when is the first time I want to hear just a little bit about the first time you realized your family situation was a little different. And then I want you to kind of just walk us through like walking into this party that you've told me about.
Okay. Well, I got asked to play. One of my girlfriends was planning a lesbian house show, and it was like 2 bands comprised of lesbians, and I did a DJ set. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into with this, but I was really excited because, I don't know, it's a different experience being in queer space and then being in a space that's queer people of the exact same identity that you are. Like, it's a whole different type of feeling of community and, like, feeling like you can relate to these people. I got there really early, and there's nobody really there yet. And as I was like starting to kind of do my thing, people started coming, and it's like somebody walked in and I was like, oh my gosh, like I texted Angela because I was like, Angela, I see like 4 butch lesbians right now, and like you would love them so much. They look so happy. And just like seeing especially like just seeing like butch femme couples that are like closer to our age versus like, I don't know, seeing like older couples or seeing older people.
Like your parents' friends.
Yeah, no, exactly.
No kid wants to hang out with their parents regardless of whether they're queer or not.
It's just like I didn't even realize. Like, it's the same thing as like I wasn't thinking about the fact that not like, you know, not everybody grows up in a house with 2 moms and like, you know, that kind of environment. It's the same thing when I was around your friends. It's like I'm not thinking about the fact that it's like, oh my gosh, I'm in a room full of lesbians right now. Or like, you know, like it just was how it was. And plus, so like...
You didn't really know you were a lesbian too.
No,
at some point you had to figure that out for yourself too.
Yeah. And so then, at this place, it's just like, I don't know, it was a whole different experience. And it was just so like joyful. And it made me so happy to see all of these people and like to talk to them too, and like get to meet all of these people that it's like we're a part of so many like intersecting communities. It's like, okay, we're all lesbians. We're all lesbians living in Santa Cruz. Some of us are lesbians who still go to the school. Some of us have graduated, you know, like it's just so cool to find people that have so many like similar titles to you, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what I love about this story is having it occur to me like, oh yeah, my daughter needs to figure out who she is, or who she was, you know?
Yeah.
Who you are, you know, in the same way when, you know, I was around your age, I went through the same thing, you know? I don't know why I didn't think about that, like I think in a queer sense, you know? Yeah, so that's why I love that story. Thank you for telling it, Eleanor.
Yeah.
All right, Angela, let's hear about your queer experience or your queer space experience, because I know you have a very different one from Eleanor.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't grow up with 2 moms. I'm Armenian, religious, grew up in a very traditional household. My parents are very accepting, but it was a challenge at first. And I didn't even, like growing up, I didn't even know that lesbians existed until middle school, until a friend came out to me as bi. And it never occurred to me that I can like women. And so that happening and figuring out my identity, and I came out in freshman year of high school, which is fairly young, but I mean, we're lucky that we can do that at our age or in our generation. And I didn't really have a queer space until I started dating Eleanor and I walked into your home.
I love that.
So, you know, I see a representation of, you know, a lesbian family, basically, in the sense of parents. And, you know, so it combines my traditional ideals that I grew up with and my identity that I don't see everywhere. You know, there's no media growing up that shows, you know, a queer family. And so it was eye-opening in a way for me. Yeah, I found that very like heartwarming and safe and
normal, right?
yeah,
I mean, I
and
feel
normal.
like,
It's just you know,
yeah.
you're just a family. It's not crazy. You're just a family.
Yeah, and I mean, there are some media portrayals, but they're always like either over idealized, like, aren't we? This is the best family ever, and we're gay, or not, you know. But like, I feel like just seeing like a real family with real family problems and all that must have been, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
must have been a cool thing.
It's the same as mine.
Yeah,
It's the same as my family, but
exactly.
just two moms.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically it. And I mean, family is so complicated.
Yep.
So it's yeah, that's literally the only difference. That is just a space that I found like representation of myself, but it wasn't necessarily like it's a queer space that I came into. It's not necessarily my queer space. And I also
tell us about your other family, Angela. Your other queer family.
I also had the experience of, you know, finding a space in college. I joined rugby and it opened my eyes. And you know, my coaches are queer, my teammates are queer, or all of our alumni, or almost all of our alumni are queer, you know. It's just every identity is accepted. The idea of rugby is everyone, you know, come play. You know, every body type, every physicality, every identity is welcomed. And that's what we try to push. Like, it's a student-run club. And so in our club, we want to kind of portray that message within what we do and within our game. And you know, we play, and it's something. I've always played sports, so it's something that I found a community in, and also exercise, and something I always enjoyed growing up. But yeah, it was hard for me to find that group of people at my school, especially in my major, in mechanical engineering. It's principle based, you know. You don't express yourself in the work that you do. You express these principles that you're taught. And so that not having the ability to express yourself kind of, I don't know, it almost isolates you. I know you're a literature major, Eleanor,
Yeah.
so, I mean, you can kind of talk about, like, how you express yourself within your major and how that brings you closer to the people around you, would you say?
Right. In the arts. It's
Yeah. No, it's very different. I mean, like, yeah, I'm studying literature and theater, and I'm doing like a concentration in poetry. And so obviously it's like it's arts based and it's expression based. Like, my professors in every single class that I've had so far, like related to my major or sometimes even not, you're welcomed and encouraged to bring your identity and your values and everything that is important to you into your work, and to, you know, I don't know, like express yourself fully and let your identity bleed into the work that you're doing for each class or project, which I love and I really appreciate, because it's hard to be asked to, you know, leave your identity at the door, because, I mean, you can never fully do that. Like, it's a part of who you are. So I'm very grateful that with what I'm studying, I'm encouraged to make it a part of my work, or just even not be asked to pretend it's not there.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
you find that in rugby.
I find the expression in rugby, and because we are basically asked to leave our expression at the door when we enter a classroom. I mean, not so outright. It's just kind of, that's just what you do, and because
there's maybe no need for it, but I mean, there are those times when it's going to pop up, and who knows, maybe they're like, hey, we're getting together after class or whatever, and people are bringing their partners, and then it does kind of become a thing where it's like you want to bring your partner, and maybe it's like there's always that moment like, the perpetually coming out, like I mean, my experience is different. I am a butch lesbian now, right? So it's everybody knows.
So I mean,
there's no question. But you never know. It's tricky around here, I will say, on the East Coast. You never know.
I mean, I'm not. I think I do it in a special way, right?
Yeah, totally.
But that's another thing is I can't fully leave my identity at the door.
Yes, that's a very good point.
So it's just with me all the time, and I can't, if I need to, I can't hide. But I'm very grateful I haven't had to have that experience. I mean, I am going to school in LA, and so I do still feel the pros of that, but it is very, I think it's there's pockets at my school.
But it sounds like you found the right one.
Yeah, I found rugby, and I mean, it's incredible. Everyone around me and I found my closest friends within that. So, yeah.
Thank you, Eleanor, and thank you, Angela, for sharing your stories today. Dedicated queer space will always be essential to our community. Queer Space's storytelling podcast is a way to preserve this notion through the ancient art of sharing stories. If you have a story you would like to tell, reach out to me at queerspacesstorytelling@gmail.com. And for more information, and maybe if you want a little peek back at what this show was before it became a podcast, you can find Queer Spaces on Instagram at queerspacesstorytelling. Go visit me there. And thank you for listening today.
Bye.
See ya.
See ya later.
The end.
Bye.